somewhere I haven't been before blind. But it is a lights out event, just so you're aware of that. So the 4 of you are going to be a group, the 2 of you are going to be a group, and the 4 of you are going to be a group. Okay. We're splitting you into groups of 3, and then we're splitting the property into groups of 3, or locations of 3 as well. So you have the main level of the mansion, the lower level of the mansion, and then upstairs right up here. Okay? So you're going to be going throughout each level with your group and rotating throughout the night. The schedule for tonight. So you're going to be hanging out with me for a little bit out here, and I think maybe the live stream is running now. If you want to say hello to all your YouTube watchers. Hello, friends and family. Yeah, it's really cool, right? And you can go back and see the star that you are. So you're going to be hanging out with me for a little bit. We're going to go over all of this really fun equipment, ask any questions that you might have, because after that you are investigating on your own. We're, of course, already here. We're seeing what's going on. We're here if you need anything at all. If you have any questions, we're always around. But you will be investigating on your own. So ask some questions now if you have them. All right. So you're going to hang out with me for a little while. After that, we will head into the mansion, and I'm going to bring you through on a very condensed ghost tour. That way you know what you're looking for, who you're looking for, what kinds of questions to ask. You'll know the history of this home. It also gives you an opportunity to be able to see the mansion. So as we're going throughout and having that ghost tour, I will be turning the lights out, blowing out all of the oil lamps in the lower level and all that, so you'll be able to see it before it becomes dark. Okay. After that, you will start investigating. You'll rotate throughout the house every 25 minutes. So you'll have 20 in each location. Those rotations, we will meet back here and we'll have our debrief. That is my favorite part of the night, because everyone gets to talk about what they experienced and what they captured, and maybe you can debunk someone else's evidence, or you can validate their experience for them as well. So that's always really fun. We're always looking for patterns and things. Yeah. All right. So does that make sense, everybody? Cool. All right. So let's get into the equipment, shall we? First up, everyone is going to get a walkie-talkie. The reason that you have a walkie-talkie is so that you will know when it's time to rotate and where to go next. So every 25 minutes, you will hear my voice come through on this walkie-talkie. The first time you hear it, it will startle you, for sure, and then you'll kind of get used to it. The other reason that you're given a walkie-talkie is because some of you are investigating for the first time tonight, and you're investigating in the dark, in a haunted house, in the middle of the night. This is going to be a lot of fun. It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. If you do feel uncomfortable at any point, you can always take a breather. You can come back here. If it's raining, you can come inside of this lower level of the carriage house and take a seat, take a breather if you need to. And if you need us to come get you, you can walkie us. Devin and I both have walkie-talkies as well. So you can always walkie in and we'll come get you. There's no shame in that. People take breaks all the time. Okay? So don't want you to feel uncomfortable if you do. So everyone's going to get a walkie-talkie, one for this group, one for this group, whoever wants it, and one for this group. Okay, great. And just so you know, everyone can hear you. If you walkie in, all the other groups and everyone can hear you, just so you're aware. Okay. Also to be aware, those cameras do have audio and video capabilities, just so you know, so we will be able to hear you as well as see you, so maybe don't go talking about your best friend while you're in the room. We can hear you. Yeah. All right. So everybody's got a walkie. By the way, this walkie will make some of the equipment go off as well. If you're standing really close to some of the equipment while it's on, it'll make it go off, just so you're aware. Okay. So next up, everybody's going to get 2 flashlights. Every group's going to get 2 flashlights. So whoever, probably the most scared person, should have a flashlight. I knew it.
I'm already breaking my nose.
For you, of course. And then you both will get your own flashlights. Okay. So you're given flashlights because you're going to be investigating in the dark. And I don't want you to trip over any stairs, neither do you. The other reason that you're given these flashlights and that you're given 2 flashlights that are different colors is so that you can use them to communicate with the spirits. Now, we are looking for intelligent communication while we're here on this property. We're hoping that this equipment goes off, yes, but we're not hoping that it just goes off willy-nilly. We're hoping that it goes off when you're asking it to. So something you can do with these flashlights is you can establish some rules. Maybe you'll decide to ask some yes or no questions, and you'll tell the ghosts that black means yes and blue means no, right? And you'll set those flashlights next to each other. You can ask them to turn on and off the flashlights, to dim the flashlights. Another thing you can do with the flashlights is you can use them as what's called a trigger object. You can set them down on a table, on the floor. You can ask a spirit to roll it toward you, roll it away from you, roll it off of something, right? So you can ask them to communicate through those flashlights. Yes, we have. Yeah, we have. So with the dimming or the turning the flashlight on and off, technically it makes it a little bit easier if you loosen the back of the flashlight. I don't always tell people to do that because I don't want you to spend too much time loosening it to the right adjustment. It is kind of hard with these small flashlights, but if you know how to do it, you loosen the back of the flashlight to the point where it's not off of it, but it's almost off. That way it becomes easier to manipulate. So if you just tap the back of it, it will turn on and off very easily. So you can do that if you want to. It makes it easier for them to communicate, and we have had activity with that. We had someone bring in his own flashlight, and he didn't loosen the back of it at all. And it was a sturdy flashlight, and he got his flashlight to dim when he wanted it to. So that was pretty neat. Yeah, so ask yes or no questions and establish those rules and see if they can follow through. All right. I also want to say, since we do have some first-time investigators, and it might seem a little scary, I want to let you know that we work really hard to be respectful to the spirits that exist on this property so that they're respectful to us and to our guests. Right? We don't have negative energy on this property. If we did, we wouldn't hold these events. I wouldn't work in this property if we did. So I wanted to make you aware of that. And also, I usually say this at the end, but I really have one rule while you're here investigating with us, and that rule is respect. Respect for this property. This is first and foremost an historic home museum. Respect for each other, and respect for the spirits. Right? I'm going to tell you about these spirits' lives, these people's lives and their deaths. Some of them were very tragic. A lot of it is very serious subject matter. You can reach out to whomever you would like to reach out to, and you can ask them interesting questions. But I ask that you do so with respect. Right? I don't want you to provoke these spirits just for provocation's sake. If you're a fan of these ghost shows, sometimes you'll see them where they're telling a spirit to scratch them or come at them, or we do not allow that on this property, so that is not something that we will allow you to do tonight. So just do so with respect. All right, pretty easy. Okay, next up. Does anyone know what this is? Yes, an EMF detector or an EMF meter. This is measuring electromagnetic frequency. Basically, this is measuring energy. So right now, this is on. That's what this green light means. All of them are going to be on when I hand them to you. You do not have to do anything with these K2s after I've handed them to you. K2 is another word for what they're called. So the way that this works is this is your base reading, this green light. What you're looking for is a spike. You're hoping that it will light up all the way to red. And again, you're hoping that it will light up to red when you're asking it to. I'm going to give every group 2 K2s. Again, that's on purpose. Another tip for you, if you want to take it, is you can put one K2 on one side of the room, put the other K2 on the other side of the room. Maybe this K2 is lighting up. You can see that it's spiking. You can say, all right, I see you over there. Hi. Have it walk you to the other side of the room and making that other K2 light up. And then see if it will follow those rules again. It will follow what you're asking it to do. That would be really neat. That's what we're hoping for. Okay? So everyone's going to get 2 K2s, whoever wants it. Of course.
Yeah.
You want? You have some?
I want to. Mine's different, so.
Excuse me.
All right, I'll match. So
Great. Cool. Great. So also with those K2s, if I were you, I would hold it pretty flat in my hand. You're more than welcome to walk around with that K2 and keep an eye on it, but just be careful not to wave it around or shake it, because that will make it light up, and that's going to give you a false reading. If I were you, I would keep it pretty flat on my palm. I would set it down on a table, on the floor, on a sofa, on some sort of flat surface, so that if you do get a reading, you know that it's because you're actually getting some activity and it's not because you're moving it around. Okay, great. How are you feeling so far? Good.
Are we allowed to take pictures with our flashes on?
Definitely,
Okay.
yes. Okay, so that's actually leads me to another good point. Another thing you can do while you're here is just use your own phone. You can take pictures while you're here. Please do. Some of our best evidence is photographic evidence. If I were you, I would switch back and forth between using flash and not using flash because we get good evidence either way. If I were you, I would use the live photo capability. Not everybody has that on their phones, but use the live photo capability if you have it. That is my favorite. You can also take photos in bursts. If you just hold down where you're taking the picture, it'll take a bunch of photos at one time. Or, if you don't have those capabilities, take 3 photos at once. You're going to snap 3 photos in really quick succession, back to back, without moving. Exactly. That is just in case you capture something as it's moving or as it disappears. It's a lot easier for us to debunk or to try to prove it as being paranormal if we can see it in motion or in a sequence. So definitely take more than one at a time or use those live photo or burst capabilities. But please take pictures for sure. Yeah. Okay. Oh, also a note on the flash. If I were you, that was that burst mode. There it is. Yeah. If I were you with that flash, I also would maybe make an announcement to my group. You might blind or startle someone in your group. So maybe just before using the flash, say, you know, heads up, I'm about to use the flash, just to be considerate to your group. All right. So how are you feeling on the equipment? Do we want to introduce some more?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Why not? I don't always introduce these, but I try to. Does anyone know what this is? A spirit box. Yes. So this is a spirit box. The way that this works is this is essentially a glorified radio. But this is establishing an energy source for the spirits to communicate with you through. So the way that this works, I'm going to come around. I know this seems really silly, but you're going to be in the dark and you're going to thank me later. You're paying attention to 2 buttons. You have the power button right here, power button right here, and you have the sweep reverse button right here. Sweep REV is what it says, sweep reverse. So again, power button, and the sweep reverse button right here. Okay, so this group, you have the power button right here, little power button, and little sweep REV, sweep reverse right here. So those are the only 2 that you're paying attention to. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. So you got to hold the power button down. It's a radio, yeah? So I'm going to press sweep REV. You hear that? It's sweeping through all of the stations. So every once in a while, you are going to have the interference from the radio, of course. You're going to hear the occasional ah, ooh, ee, ah, right? But what you were listening for is a vocalization that will extend past the length of one change of a frequency. You're listening for a response, a word, a sentence, a phrase that will overlay multiple channels at one time. Does that make sense to everyone? It will not be broken up the way that the radio interference will be. Okay, so it also sounds a little bit louder. It sounds different when you hear it. You'll know it when you hear it. With these, this does not record audio. So, unfortunately, yeah. So if I were you, I would use my voice memo app. That's what most guests use, the voice memo app. It seems to work really well. So I would use that in conjunction with the spirit box, because if you get a response from a spirit, you're going to want to hear it again. It's also usually pretty difficult to understand. So it's good to go back through and listen later on. A couple notes on recording. While you're recording, I would turn my recorder on and then I would turn my spirit box on at the same time. I would probably set them down on the floor. I would maybe gather my group and sit in a circle around them. I would have a spirit box session. I would ask some interesting questions and I would see if I can get some responses. A note on the recording. Don't whisper. If you whisper, you're going to listen back to that recording and think it's a ghost, but it's not. It's you whispering. You're not going to remember that you whispered at that moment. Another note on that is if someone maybe stands up or someone shifts their weight and the floorboard creaks, note that. Say, oh, that was me. I shifted my weight. We also are in a city. It's Sunday night and it's raining, so it shouldn't be too busy outside, but sometimes there are people outside who make noise. There was, for example, there was a group of guests who was they were asking yes or no questions, and some guy out on the street yelled, "Yeah!" And they thought it was a response. They thought it was a ghost that was responding to their question, and it wasn't. It was just some drunkard on the street. So if you hear some sort of exterior noise, just make sure to mark it, because when you listen to this back, you're not going to remember what it was. Okay, cool. Also, for first time, I'm going to go ahead and pass these out. Whoever wants it. Also, for first-time investigators, do you want one? Okay. It also does have a little flip, little stand in the back that you can flip out if you want to set it down, which makes it pretty easy. Also, a note for our first-time investigators: you're walking into a seemingly empty room, and you're going to be asking questions seemingly to the air. It's going to feel really weird. It's going to feel a little kooky. But while you're here tonight, you purchased these tickets, lean into it. Why not, right? Also, I would create a rapport with these spirits. I would try to treat them like human beings, because essentially that's what they are, right? When you walk into a room, maybe announce yourself. Introduce yourself to the spirits, right? Treat them like someone you would walk up to on the sidewalk. You're not going to just run up to someone on the sidewalk and say, "Who are you and why are you here?" Right? You're going to say, "Hi, my name is Janie. I really liked your jacket that you're wearing. I heard you threw wonderful parties at this house. Tell me about those parties. When I go to a party, this is what I like to do." Create a rapport with them. I think that usually works the best. Also, if you've exhausted your questions, ask your questions again. Ask your questions in another way. And if, again, you've exhausted your questions, you can't think of anything else to ask, have a conversation amongst yourselves. There was a time I had this group of girls who was investigating, and they weren't getting anything at all. And they were in the lower level, and finally they just started to talk amongst themselves. There was a teddy bear in that room, and they started to talk about it. And one of the girls said, "Oh, I didn't have a teddy bear when I was growing up. I had this stuffed lamb." And she started to describe her stuffed lamb, and all of the equipment started to go off. And that was really neat, because when she was talking about this stuffed lamb, maybe someone in that room felt comfortable with her at that point. Maybe they related to what she was talking about, and then they wanted to come through and communicate. So have a conversation amongst yourselves if you want to. You can try that. But yeah, try to make them feel comfortable. All right. Any questions on that? No. Okay, cool. So you now have all of the equipment that you are responsible for tonight. This is what you're bringing around from location to location, and it's what you're bringing back at the end of the night before the debrief. So I have a couple of stationary equipments as well. So this right here is what's called an EDI. It's an environmental detection instrument. This is 3 pieces of equipment in one. So this is measuring ambient temperature. That's what this number is at the top. You don't want to pay too much attention to that. If you have a huge increase or a huge decrease, that would be noteworthy. Otherwise, it's not that interesting most of the time. This is also measuring EMF, electromagnetic frequency, just like your K2s right there. So it'll light up blue when it's detecting EMF. But what we're really using this piece of equipment for is the geophone that's built in. This is measuring seismic activity. I'm going to be putting this in a place inside the mansion where we get a lot of reports of footsteps. So if you hear something, if you hear maybe a footstep, go out into the foyer where this will be located and see if this is lighting up. Another thing you can do, or I'll show you what it looks like when it lights up. So if you would stop your foot for me, you see it lit up right over there. It's pretty sensitive. I know you couldn't see it. So will you do it again? Can you see that? One more time? Yeah, there we go. So I'm barely tapping on this island right now, and it's still lighting up. It's really quite sensitive. So another thing that you can do is you can ask the spirits to imitate you. So I would not stomp my feet, because there is going to be someone below you, and we don't want to interfere with their evidence. But this will be set on a staircase. So maybe knock on the railing. You can knock 4 times and ask the spirit to knock back 4 times. Maybe you won't hear a knock back, but you will see it light up 4 times. That would be really cool. Another thing you can try is the shave and a haircut. And and see if it'll finish it. We've had that happen one time, which was really cool. So you can try that as well. They know that song. Okay, any questions on this? No? I know this is a lot, but please ask questions if you have them. All right, last but not least, does anyone know what this is? This is called a REM pod. Are you guys fans of the ghost shows at all?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys watch the ghost shows? Okay. If you like Ghost Adventures, this is, yeah, they like invented this. So this is a REM pod. So this is emitting its own electromagnetic field around this antenna. And when something breaks that field, it lets you know through lights and sound. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's my favorite piece of equipment. It's usually people's favorite piece of equipment. It doesn't always go off. You know, you have to be pretty close to it, but it's pretty sensitive. Now, with this, if you walk into a room and it's already going off, ask the spirit to back away from it. Maybe say, on the count of 3, can you take a step back from that sofa or a table or wherever this happens to be sitting, and see if it'll stop going off. On the other hand, if it's not going off, maybe you'll count to 10, count down from 10, and ask the spirit to walk toward it and see if you can get it to go off there. Also, this lights up a bunch of colors and it makes noise. We have children's spirits on this property, so you can make a game out of this if you feel comfortable doing that. If you are good with kids, try to turn this into a game. See if you can lure them toward this piece of equipment. See if you can get them to make this go off. That would be neat. There are going to be 3 REM pods on this property. So there is 1 REM pod in each location where you will be investigating, so you can always have an opportunity to use the REM pod. These are stationary equipments, the REM pod, as well as the EDI. So we are going to be putting them in specific spots where we think will benefit you the most. So we will leave them where they already are. Okay, great. All right. So, cool, yeah. And also, feel free to call these what they are. Feel free to call this a REM pod. Call that a K2. These spirits, we have these investigations every single weekend. These spirits are intelligent spirits, and they know what the equipment is called at this point. So you don't feel like you have to show them how it works. Don't feel like you have to explain what it is or call it something else. A lot of them are 19th century spirits, but they know what an antenna is. They know what a REM pod is at this point. Okay. All right, so I'm going to grab this EDI, and we will head into the mansion. Are you feeling good?
Walkie-talkies already on?
Yes, the walkie-talkies are already on, and they're already to the right station. So everyone should be able to hear me.
And I do have a question. You mentioned
Yeah.
that the walkie-talkie could interfere with this. So how far should we stay away?
You're okay if you stand near it. Just if it happens to be the 25-minute mark and I call through and you're just near this REM pod and it goes off right when I called you, I just wanted you to be aware that that's just because I called you. Okay, yeah. But yeah, you're welcome to walk right on up to it with the walkie. It's just when you're using it or when I'm calling you that it will go off. Yeah, good question. All right, anything else? No? All right, cool. Let's head into the mansion.
Okay, you ready?
Can you have an umbrella that you want to deposit? You can put it in this in your umbrella.
No, we can. I'm so excited.
Sarah, I need a two trip all the time. Yeah, that's what happens with a historic home. That's been renovated. Get your flashlight. All right, so welcome inside the Sorrel-Weed mansion. This is a very strange introduction going into the dark basement, I know. We will head upstairs and you'll be able to see the beauty of the home. But this house was constructed in 1840. It was built for Francis Sorrel as a wedding present to his second wife, Matilda. Now, while the Sorrels were living here, this lower level was the slaves' working quarters. The Sorrels did have probably up to 15 enslaved house servants while they were living here. So this big room that we're standing in now, this was the kitchen. All of the fireplaces down in this lower level were used for cooking. So while you're down here investigating, try to reach out to those slaves. Now, another entity you can try to reach out to, or a few entities, are some soldiers. The Revolutionary War in Savannah was fought right outside in what is now Madison Square. In fact, the second bloodiest battle of the Revolutionary War was fought outside. So during that time in 1779, this is where those British officers were living. And it also happens to be where they died. Does anyone have a guess as to where their bodies are today? Under us? They're under us. While we're walking around and investigating in this lower level, we are walking over the scattered remains of those 12 British officers. Their bones are still here. Our very first paranormal reportings actually come from the time that the Sorrels were still living here. The slaves were going to them and telling them that they were seeing shapes as well as creatures with white legs and red tails. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Who could that be? Creatures with white legs and red tails? The redcoats, thank you. The British officers. Sounds like their uniform. But notice that I'm not describing an upper half. Just white legs and red tails. Yeah. These creatures can still be seen today, and that makes sense. Their bones are still here. So if you're having some equipment go off while you're in this big area, this kitchen area, it could be a slave, it could be a soldier. I mentioned that the slaves were seeing shapes. We take shapes to mean shadows. Our most active entity down here has been an entity we refer to really simply as Shadow Man. Shadow Man is a very tall, very thin, three-dimensional looking shadow. He is featureless, but he appears to have mass. Shadow Man can be seen and experienced all over the lower level, but most commonly he's seen, captured in footage, pacing in this breezeway, walking the length of it back and forth as if he's keeping guard, perhaps. If I were you, I would spend some time in the breezeway. Now this chair is at the end of the breezeway back here that is put there for the investigations. I don't know very much information about Shadow Man. Every time someone sees a shadow, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's this one particular entity, but we do believe that Shadow Man, or whom we refer to as Shadow Man, is a soldier of sorts. Ask him questions about himself tonight. Get to know him. Research for us. Thank you very much. We would love that. We would love to find out some more information about him. If I were you, I would leave my equipment behind and I would go into the breezeway and I would sit in that chair by myself. If I were you, I wouldn't have my equipment. I would sit there, I would maybe close my eyes, and I would try to center myself and have an experience. I gave you some really interesting equipment tonight, and I'm excited that you guys get to use this equipment. But you are your best investigative tool, right? Pay attention to what's happening to you. If you hear something, if you smell something, if you feel something, say something to the other people in your group. They could help debunk it. They could maybe be having the same experience. They could validate it for you, right? And then you can have a dialogue about it. Most people who come to this property do have experiences like that. During our tours, they don't have all of this equipment, but they have plenty of activity happen during the tours. So if I were you, I would spend some time in there and I would try to have an experience of my own. Take your equipment in there too if you want to. That's just a tip. Take it or leave it. All right, so we're going to go to this back room next. There's a handle on the left side of that door. You can pull it toward you and head inside. Love the toilets or touch it. Is it still working?
No. It's like she dropped the bulb. I think the bulb fell out over here.
I don't have a flashlight, but I
have my own.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And I will give you the names that we know. Yeah. I'm about to give you one of them through. And a lot of the names come from these investigations, come from hearing them through the spirit box enough times, and then we start to refer to them as those names. So they know those names at this point. You get running around trying to get their work accomplished. Note on these slaves. This is not a plantation house. This is a city. These were urban slaves. They are not out in the field keeping cotton or indigo. They are skilled laborers, right? These people are mechanics and carpenters and blacksmiths and cobblers and cooks and seamstresses and nannies, butlers, right? They have skills. They are skilled laborers. They are also not just working from sun up to sundown in the field. They are at the beck and call of this family 24/7. So it's very different from a plantation slave. And I think some people come in thinking that all slaves are the same, but these are not plantation slaves. So while you're in here, try to reach out to those slaves, ask them about their specific skills. Ask them if they had favorite horse in the stable. Ask them what they like to eat. Ask them about their day-to-day lives. Right? You can ask them interesting questions. They were complex people, of course. Now, we believe that there's a little boy in this room. I've been told enough times by mediums that there is this little boy, and we do have a name for him. We think that his name is Bobby. Every time that I've heard about Bobby, I've been told that he's sitting by the spider police and he's waiting for his parents to finish up their job. We believe that Bobby is the son of slaves and the slave himself. So try to reach out to Bobby in here. If your equipment is going off, maybe it's Bobby. At least you have a name to throw out there to try. It could be him, could be someone else, but you can try the name. Before we head into the next room, another note on these kids. So there are 3 children spirits who believe to be in this lower level, and we believe that one of them likes to take people's earrings. So if you're wearing your favorite pair of earrings, maybe take them out and put them in your pocket, especially if they're long, dangly, hoops, any of that. If they're not your favorite pair, leave them in and see if something happens. This sounds like a scare tactic, but we have so many people leave this property and then call us and ask for their earring back. It's usually just one of their earrings. But we have to return their earrings because we can't find them. I do think it's a little bit. I don't think it's a spiteful thing. I think someone's just interested in you and they're trying to get your attention. If you want to, you can use your jewelry as a trigger object, the same way that you would use your flashlight. If you take out your earrings, your necklace, your watch, you can set it down on a table and you can ask the spirit to come and interact with it. You can ask them to move it to the right, move it to the left, knock it off the table. That's up to you. Okay, so use those trigger objects if you want to. I tell you that before we head into the next room because most often when people lose their jewelry, it is in the next room. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and push through those next double doors and go up this way.
What do you say?
I said I sneezed and not like a comfort
Did you see it?
No, I don't.
And look for it.
It's
Open
like
these all the way.
it's just gone.
I'll look for it when I come back down.
Maybe it rolled under something.
Alright. So as I told y'all, this lower level was the slaves' working quarters. But there was a time that this room served a different purpose. Between 1845 and 1850, this room was the medical office of Dr. Frank Sorrel. Frank was one of Lucinda, the first wife, and Francis's sons. Frank was not a regular doctor. Frank was not practicing general medicine. Frank was a trauma surgeon. This was a makeshift operating room for 5.5 years. And Frank was a very gifted trauma surgeon. Frank actually had the lowest mortality rate in the nation. But the lowest mortality rate in the nation in 1845 was 51%. Frank lost over half of his patients. There was a lot of death that occurred in this room, and this we believe to be the most haunted room in the entire home. It's also the most physically active room, meaning people feel things in here more often than in the others. Shirts tugged, hair pulled, pokes in the back of the leg. Now, I told you that, I don't think that Dr. Frank is here anymore, by the way. You can try to reach out to him. You can ask him some questions if you want to. You can try to address Dr. Sorrel or Frank. But I do believe that the spirits of his former patients still linger here. So if you are getting some equipment to go off in this room, maybe it's one of his patients. Majority of surgeries that he was performing in here were amputations, as well as the removal of bullets. He was also seeing a lot of people in the city who were having carriage accidents, or they were falling off and getting trampled by their carriage or by their horse. So you can try to ask them why they're here, and you can ask them specifically if it's for those reasons. So just so you know a little bit of background there. So it might be a spirit of a former patient if you're getting some equipment to go off. Now it could also be one of those kids that I already mentioned. One of these kids, we believe, is a little girl who loves to play hide and seek. I hear myself say that during these investigations. I too hear that it sounds like the plot line of a bad horror movie, right? A little ghost girl who plays hide and seek. It sounds like I'm making it up. But we have so many people report to us feeling their ankles touched, their shoelaces played with, feeling pokes in the back of the leg. And it's most often happening when they're sitting on that sofa or when they're standing near a piece of furniture. It can happen all over the house, but it does commonly happen when people sit on that particular sofa. Now, we believe that she's hiding underneath these pieces of furniture, and she's letting you know that you found her by tugging on your shoelace or grabbing you by the back of the ankles. When you're touched by a ghost or a spirit, though, it does not feel like a human touch. If you feel a human touch while you're on this investigation here tonight, it is the person you came with trying to scare you. It does feel like cobwebs that are brushing your skin and you can't get rid of them. It feels like a loose hair that you can't find, like a bug crawling up your skin or a feather brushing over it. Those are ways guests most often describe it. It can also feel like a warm sensation, like someone's holding up a lighter just to a patch of your skin. So pay attention again to the way that you're feeling. And if you have any funny feeling on this tour, or on this investigation, a good way to test if it's paranormal or not is to move. If you walk into a room and you feel freezing cold in that room, or you feel dizzy, or sad, or different in some way, walk back out of the room. Cross the threshold again. See if the feeling follows you. If that feeling goes away immediately when you've crossed that threshold, it could be paranormal. If it follows you the rest of the night, it's probably just you. So that's a good way to test it out. But think of this property as having its own threshold. I've had people come onto this property and have a horrible migraine. And it isn't until they walk off of the property onto the sidewalk outside that that pain goes away immediately. So think of this entire property as having a threshold as well. But thresholds are a real thing, so go in and out of each room if you're having an experience to test it out. This is a good way to test it. What else in here? Let's see. Play hide and seek with this little girl. Count down from 10. Have your group split up. Move all around the lower level and see if you can get her to interact with you. We do have some activity with that. There was a time, let's see, during a tour, we had this big-time skeptic. This big-time skeptic was sitting alone on the sofa just as you are right now. He's sitting alone on the sofa. He's not even really paying attention, to be honest. When all of a sudden he stands up without a word. He walks out of the house and he refuses to continue the tour. Eventually, that guy admitted to us that while sitting there alone, he heard what sounded like little footsteps running to him, and he felt the springs next to him bounce, like a little kid had jumped up on the sofa next to him. Yeah, so he may have made a believer of that skeptic. There was a time during an investigation, I had a woman who was wearing a crossbody purse like yours. Her crossbody purse was on her left hip. She was standing around that kitchen table we were all standing around. The purse was on the left next to the table, and she was holding her equipment in her hands up here when her purse unbuckled and fell to the floor. I can't explain her purse doing that by itself, but I have been told by mediums who have come to this property that a little girl likes to sit underneath that table and observe the guests. Yeah, so play hide and seek if you want to. You could get some activity that way. There's a REM pod in this room, of course. REM pod is right here. This is a 19th century wheelchair. I can't tell you exactly who's sitting in this wheelchair. We haven't had it for that long. I have been told two differing reports. The first report we were getting pretty consistently was that there was an older gentleman sitting in this chair. After that, we were getting the report that there was an older woman. At this point, we think they were related. We think maybe they were siblings, and he had the chair, passed away, and then she got the chair later on. So you can try to reach out to whoever might be sitting here tonight, ask them some questions, ask them to make the REM pod go off. ask them to move the wheelchair. This wheelchair has moved, I think, 6 times during tours. So you can ask them to roll it toward you or roll it away from you. It usually is a really slight movement, so listen in, right? A lot of people aren't going to see things when they come to a haunted house. They're not sensitive in that way. They might hear something, smell something, or feel something. So make sure that you're listening. I've had guests hear what sounds like a chair being dragged across the brick, but that chair hasn't moved. There's a chair right there. It sounds like, and then they would move the chair, and it sounded like what they had just heard, but the chair hadn't actually moved. That's what we call a residual noise. So pay attention to that. Ask them to move the wheelchair or move that chair, shuffle those papers on that desk. You can ask them to interact with the tangible objects in the room. All right, any questions in here? Nope. All right, so let's push through those next double doors. We're going to go upstairs next. I will lead the way. I'm just going to blow out these oil lamps. Let's be really careful with this equipment. I will lead the way, yeah. Thank you. All right. Follow me up this way.
So was Francis the surgeon? Who was the surgeon?
So Frank,
Frank.
his son,
Okay, got it.
Moxley. Yes, so fair question. So she was asking me if Francis was the surgeon. No, Francis was the patriarch here. Francis and Matilda had 8 children together, so there were a lot of kids that grew up at this house. Moxley was one of them, who's actually, his portrait is right behind you. And then Frank was just another of their sons, and he was the surgeon that was downstairs. So Frank and Francis are different people. That is totally confusing. I hear that sometimes. Yeah, thank you for asking for that clarification. So we are now in the parlor rooms of the Sorrel-Weed home. The parlor rooms are the rooms where the Sorrel's parties would have taken place, and this house was the party house of Savannah during its time. Everyone wanted to come to the Sorrel's parties. Now, just so you're aware how these parties would have worked, if you were guests of this party, you would have come in through the front door and then inside of these rooms to be greeted by a giant feast. A huge banquet table would have spanned the length of both rooms from window to window. And once you had your fill of food and drink, that banquet table would have been removed and a band would have been set up over here where the piano is today. At which point, of course, the dancing would have commenced, and you all would have danced around together all night long, eventually growing tired, at which point the men and the women would be required to separate. That room back there, that is the ladies' parlor room, while this room we're all standing in now is the gentlemen's parlor room. So while you're in here, you guys are the only ones that have both genders. If I were you, I would split up by gender. I would hang out in the gentleman's parlor and hang out in the ladies' parlor, and then I would switch it and see what happens there. But why not? At least try it. So you can ask them questions about these parties. Ask them what food they were eating, what food they were serving. You can talk to them about what you like to drink and ask them what they would have liked to have drunk. The gentleman in here would have been drinking brandy probably and smoking cigars. Talk to them about that. Ask them interesting questions. Another thing you can do while you're in here is play music. Obviously, there is going to be a group below you. Don't play the music too loudly. But please do play music, even with your phone on airplane mode. You can still play your music. Try to drum up the energy of those parties. Dance around if you want to. Invite them to dance with you. Try to stir up that energy. We do have activities sometimes with that, and needless to say, it's fun. So try that. I will say, though, too, I used to just tell my guests on investigations that these were the party rooms. And I felt like I was doing them a disservice, because there were times that people would come in here and they'd be playing music and dancing around, and it felt inappropriate to them. So I want to let you know that these were their public rooms. These are the most beautiful rooms in the entire home. If there was a loss in the family, they would have held their wake in these rooms. They would have also used these rooms as living rooms. Maybe you're walking into a wake. Maybe you're walking into the family hanging out on a Sunday. Maybe you're walking into a party. I would try to drum up the energy of the party, but if that feels wrong to you, abandon that idea and try something else. So I just wanted you to know that it would be used for different purposes. But I would talk to them about what they were eating or drinking or dancing to at the party. Yeah. All right. So, these mirrors. So the furniture here is not original. The Sorrels took their furniture with them when they moved out in 1862, as we do when we move locations. All of it is 19th century furniture. It's all from Savannah, and it's particularly laid out. If this 1840s Steinway piano is tempting you to play her, don't listen to her. Please don't touch any of the furniture. But you can ask a spirit to interact with the furniture once again. You can ask a spirit to play this piano. When was this? Not even a week ago. I had a tour, and we all heard 2 keys play on the piano. It was so cool. I was so excited about it. We've only had this piano for a few months as well, and people have heard it a few times now. So ask them to play the piano if you want to. You can play something on your phone and ask them to copy it on the piano maybe. That would be really neat. But the mirrors in here, we do believe, have been here since the Sorrels were here. Since the 1840s, this mirror and the one in the ladies' parlor. Take pictures in these mirrors. Take more than one photo in these mirrors at a time. Some of our best evidence comes when people take photos in these mirrors. So definitely spend some time taking photos in those. At least try it out.
Is flash okay for the mirrors?
Definitely. Yeah, I would do both, though. I would switch back and forth. Yeah, I would do both. Okay, so we're going to head into the next room now, into the ladies' parlor. I'm going to turn this light out. And you're welcome to sit on the historic floors. These are the original floors, the same floors that the Sorrels and their guests were dancing on. So I would sit on the floor. I would put my equipment on the floor, my K2 on the floor, and I would see if I can get a reaction. Okay, so this is the ladies' parlor. The ladies' parlor is also where the kids would have been spending a lot of their time with their moms. So you could try to reach out to some kids in here as well. There's a REM pod right on the sofa, so you could try to reach out to a lady or a kid. There could be gentlemen in here too, of course. In the beginning of the night, everyone is mingling around. It's only at the end of the night that they separate. So I'm going to bring the mood down a little bit. I'm going to tell you the main story of this house. You're in a haunted house, so you expect some tragedy. You already know about the surgery downstairs as well as the British officers, but there was some personal familial tragedy as well. So March 27th, 1860, the Sorrels were planning another large, luxurious party. It was their big spring event. And Matilda, the lady of the home, she wanted to know how preparations for this party were going. In order to find out how preparations were going, she would have found her most trusted slave, and she would have asked her. Her most trusted slave's name was Molly. Molly had her own bedroom. The third location where y'all will be investigating tonight is the upper level of the carriage house. That was the slave's living quarters. So when we go up there, every time you go up there to investigate, I will tell you a little bit about it, and I will bring you up there personally. Molly had her own bedroom now. She was pretty isolated up there. So on this particular night on March 27th, Matilda's looking for Molly all over the mansion. She's asking around and nobody had seen her. The last place that Matilda looked for Molly is Molly's bedroom. Why would she be there? There's so much that needs to be done. But she does find Molly that night in her room. She also finds Francis, her husband, in Molly's bed with her. And we can take an educated guess as to what Francis was doing in Molly's bed with her. But it is important we keep in mind that Molly was a slave and Francis was her slave owner. It is doubtful that she had a choice. Matilda, having seen this, was devastated. Not only was this her husband, but she and Molly were said to have been really close. Molly was her right hand. Matilda ran down the steps from the carriage house back into the mansion. She went upstairs to the third floor, where she locked herself inside of her bedroom before coming out to the third-story balcony outside and tragically tumbling over the ledge of the balcony. Matilda fell head first and landed in that courtyard below, which at that time was the drive, was about 4 feet lower and was made of black slate tile. She passed away that night. Just about 2 weeks after Matilda's loss, again nobody could find Molly. Again they're looking all over the house and they're asking around and nobody could see her. Again, the last place that they looked for Molly was Molly's bedroom, and again they found her there. But this time, Molly was hanging from a rafter in the ceiling of the bedroom. Because Molly was a slave, she was considered property and not a person. Thus, there was never an investigation that took place into Molly's death. It was simply written off as a suicide, and they didn't bother asking any more questions. We at the Sorrel-Weed house pretty unanimously believe that Molly was murdered. We know from records that Molly was only 4'11". The rafters in the ceiling of her bedroom, they're pretty tall. You can see them for yourself when you go up there. The original rafters are still there. It's also probably worth noting that historically, hanging was a white person's way of killing someone else. There's a lot of mystery that enshrouds both of these women's deaths. I can't tell you exactly what happened to Molly, and I can't tell you exactly what happened to Matilda. I can't tell you that Matilda jumped. I can't tell you Matilda wasn't pushed. Matilda's death was recorded as an accident, that she fainted over the balcony. I can tell you Matilda's buried outside of their family crypt in an unmarked grave, which signifies to most that it was suicide. Because suicide was so highly stigmatized, she wouldn't have been allowed to have been buried with the rest of the family. Matilda did suffer from depression. She was actually referred to as the Lady in Black here in Savannah for slipping into bouts of depression and going into months-long periods of mourning. She lost 3 of her children. She lost her sister. Her older sister was actually Francis's first wife, and she was contracted into this marriage. So she definitely had some struggles throughout her life, but I can't tell you that she committed suicide. Most people do come to those conclusions, though. Ask them about that tonight if you want to, but of course do so in a respectful way. All right.
I'm sorry, how many children again?
So Matilda and Francis had 8 children together,
Okay.
but only 5 of those children survived past childhood. Before that, Francis had 3 children with her older sister, Lucinda. So in total, there were 8 children that really grew up here. Does that make sense? 3 of them passed away. The eldest of those 3 who passed away was 6 years old, and she died upstairs of scarlet fever. And her name was also Matilda. I've had reports of people telling me that there's a little girl who is sick and needs help, who is coming down the stairs in the foyer. So if you're hearing footsteps outside, it could be Matilda Ann, is what she meant by Matilda Ann, the little girl. I can't guarantee that that's who it is, but it could be her. So try to reach out to her if you hear footsteps. You have that name to try out.
What happened to Matilda's sister?
Lucinda, she passed away from yellow fever. Yeah.
Here too.
In Savannah, yeah. They were from Virginia, but they moved to Savannah together, and Lucinda passed away from yellow fever. There was a 3-time epidemic of yellow fever in Savannah. That's a great question. Lucinda did not live in this house, though. I don't think Lucinda is here. This house was built as a wedding present for Matilda. So Matilda and their family are the only ones that lived here. Lucinda did not. Yeah.
And are they buried in Colonial Park?
They're not in Colonial Park. No, that is an older cemetery. That cemetery closed in 1853. Matilda passed away in 1860, and Francis in 1870. They are buried in Laurel Grove Cemetery, which is off of Ogeechee and Anderson. If you want to find it, it's really pretty. It's worth seeing too. They have a big like mausoleum out there. So the Weed family does as well. It's the second family to live here. I don't know too much information about the Weeds, but yeah, they're both in Laurel Grove. Yeah. All right. Any questions at all?
Would be a proper way to talk to them about why, or like how could it be asked, or like how that would be in an offensive way.
I think I would probably start out talking to them about other things. We've communicated with Matilda quite a bit in these parlor rooms. We think that her happiest moments were spent in these parlor rooms, throwing these parties. So I would try to reach out to her about that first. I would try to reach out to her, talk to her about her children and the parties, and maybe warm her up a little bit. And then maybe, if I were you, I would talk about myself. I would say, I've had such personal struggles too. I can understand where you're coming from. That must have been hard. I didn't like this. I would talk to them about myself, and then I would maybe ask, what happened. And you can say, I could understand if it was a suicide, but I'm just curious if you can let me know what happened. It'd be a good way to do it. I had this boy recently. He was a boy. He was like 18, but he was here and he asked over the spirit box, do you have a story to tell? And he got a response and said yes. And I thought that was such a neat question to ask. It was such a general question, but it was a really nice way to ask a spirit if they had anything to say. Do you have a story to tell? So I thought that was really nice too. So does that answer your question? It is a sensitive topic. It's hard to talk to a living person about that, right? Yeah. But try to treat them like a living person, and I would talk about myself. Okay. All right. How are you feeling? Good. Okay. So we're gonna start investigating now. Who wants to start in the parlor rooms to get the party started? Does anyone feel particularly excited about this?
All right. So this area?
This area, yeah. Let's do this group of 4. Let's start up here. So you guys will be in the parlor rooms, the study, the foyer. You can hang out all up here in this upper level. Oh, and note, this door right here, this ladies' parlor door, if you don't open it wide enough, it'll close on its own. It's not a ghost, it's a historic door. So just so you know. You're welcome to leave the doors open or close them. You can open it and ask the spirit to close it as well if you want to. The only door that I ask you to leave shut is the one across the hall that leads to the staircase down to the lower level, just so we can have somewhat of a blockade for noise between the 2 groups that are investigating. Yeah, so we'll leave that door shut, but that's it.
So
Okay.
when we transition after 25 minutes, will somebody escort us down?
No.
We'll
So-
have to figure out.
You'll walk. Yeah, so I will tell you where to go next, and then you'll lead yourself there. Yeah, and everyone will meet me in the carriage house before I lead you up to the slaves
So
living
we're
quarters.
just over here, then downstairs, and then you lead us to the carriage house, basically.
Yeah, so one group will meet me in the carriage house already. I'll just be standing there and I'll turn the light on and you'll find me and I'll lead you upstairs since you haven't been up there with me yet. But everywhere else you've been and it's just going up or down. Yeah.
We do some washroom,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, so why don't y'all start in the carriage house then? I'm gonna start you guys in the lower level. Okay, great. Oh, you do? Okay. Okay.
Just
Well,
because it's gonna be another 25 minutes, so.
it
I
is.
better go ahead.
Or, yeah, it's up to you. And I am going to start the 25 minutes right now, so I'm going to bring you across. Okay, ready? Turn that on.
Sorry.
Okay, so you can head to the lower level. Alright, happy investigating, y'all. Yes.
Keep that door closed.
Hello, exactly.
Should we take, I'm gonna start with pictures.
Oh, do we want to introduce ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to introduce ourselves, yes.
My name is Sandra. I'm here to visit you today. I'm excited to be here and get to know a little more about you.
We're from Chicago. My name is Erica. I'm Sandra's daughter.
My name's Amanda. I'm here from Georgia, and I love the history behind Savannah, especially this house, and I'm excited to know more about the people. And I'm the daughter of Carol, who you'll meet next.
I'm Carol, and we are from Georgia. We've always lived in Georgia. Very fascinating homes, beautiful. And we would like to get to learn more about you and about your family, and the things you did here.
So if it's okay, we're gonna take a few pictures around here because we like how it looks.
Yes.
We're gonna start by taking pictures of the mirrors. I hope I didn't bother you. I'm gonna turn on the flash. I'm using the flash now. Taking another picture with the flash. Take it first.
Take you first. And then you take some pictures, or?
I'm trying to, can I borrow my phone flashlight so I can see my buttons, please?
Well, I'll just turn this one on. Yeah. This one's easy to get to. Okay. No, that's a gentle flashlight.
You have
Right.
beautiful house,
It's
Matthew.
gorgeous. I love it.
So you gotta take a picture of
Yes, I am.
I love the color.
I'm gonna take one with flash and it might make some sounds just in case anybody is not prepared.
Yes, that's sure. Thanks. So,
Can you share the light? I wonder if there were soldiers who we invited to these carnival parties.
that's a good, I wonder, considering that the son was the first brigadier general, I think they would.
Yeah.
Okay, it might click, so.
Yeah, click, away.
Right here, can you turn a page in this book if you posted any soldiers in this parlor room?
I have ever children in here. I am studying to be a teacher. And I like to be around children. And I think they're great and I want to be able to help them.
I'm a teacher myself.
You are?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I was a teacher, kindergarten, first grade.
That's
Now,
what she's doing.
now I'm a bilingual coordinator.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm able to work with, this next semester I'll be going into schools in Macon to help in a classroom. And
That's awesome.
I'm so excited. There's a lot of children that are in poor conditions and a lot of children who are from immigrated families. And I'm excited to be able to help them and like make sure that they get the focus and the care that they need.
You're gonna be a great teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you. Teaching is a wonderful profession.
It is.
Uh, There's a lot of good things.
That's
I'm
my,
like
yes.
18 years.
Oh my
So I'm
God,
like,
bless you, bless you.
I don't know how much you
and I
know.
saw a split for like a split cake for bilingual for like 5 years. So I was exhausted.
Oh my
I need
gosh.
to move into a
You're working, yeah, you're working on translation. And there was a lot of great parties in this room. I bet there was a bunch of
I like parties a lot.
I do too. I like parties a lot in this marriage.
I feel a little
my favorite.
Okay, yeah, put it on the table, that's a great idea. It's a great idea.
now. Just wait till
I'm gonna look at
I wish we can have a house that
your,
would
mirror right here.
That's where we come in.
I wonder how many people.
In the parties.
What's a little kid sitting here?
Yeah, there's a dog.
You wanna speak with me? I like to play hide and go seek. You can't.
And that's why it's completely.
Does anybody want to play hide and seek?
You don't play that too?
You know my name?
It's been down.
Yeah. Did you take any pictures yet?
I've been taking pictures. My flash won't stay on.
Does anybody want to roll the wheels there for me? One more thing for you.
You okay? Can I get help?
Bobby, are you in there? Pictures?
I've been taking pictures, but my flash is not working.
Why not?
I have no idea. It keeps turning on.
camera over.
Can roll one?
Because I love dancing. My friend is the leader of ballroom dancing, and she's teaching me some moves right now, and I'm having a very great time doing it. Would you like to see me dance? Because I'll dance for you.
I would like to see you now.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
also
than I am.
learned how to do the salsa, so I can.
What kind of band?
So I'm gonna turn off the spirit box, but if you feel like dancing, feel free to dance near the machine that lights up or near one of our others, because I'd love to know that people are dancing with me. Okay,
On the cabinet, here's the cave on the cabinet.
where?
We put one of ours, we put one on the cabinet over there by that mirror.
I'll put it somewhere over here.
There you go, that way if we go to one, so you go to one.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Let's
put one down
dance.
here. I'm gonna put the radio in my hands. So in ballroom,
That works.
so for ballroom, I only know like the basics. But yeah, there's this, and you have to hold your hand like this. So what you're doing is you're going up and to the left, then back, and to the right, and that's the basic four-step move.
Or it's like a square.
Yeah. And then you're going to usually start off on your left foot on each time for the first two, and then the right for the back two. Now, I do know one salsa dance move, and if you want to set your foot back on the floor, I'll show you it. It's really easy. Okay, I just put it on the floor. And then you wanna go through.
I wonder how they dance with all this furniture.
Okay,
I wondered the same
They
thing.
probably moved it all the way. Okay, so this is a figure eight move. And what happens is we're gonna change sides without letting go. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna spin around under, like that.
Okay.
Okay, look at me.
You're kidding, right?
Oh wait, that's the wrong arm. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is go to the side.
Okay. You let go, man.
I did. I guess I didn't learn it that
Something
well.
like that would be better.
Something like that.
We need more practice.
We can't do it very well. We need more practice. Yeah, I do need more practice. Maybe if somebody could show me how to dance here, I'd get practice.
Really nice.
Maybe they're all by the piano.
Oh yeah, maybe they're still in the.
I don't think-
It may be in like it may be early in the night.
Do you have furniture? We're holding those.
Did you
I
Oh, your mom's in the other room. I was like, "Can we from your room?"
don't think they have furniture.
is picking up. Yeah, this is questionable, I'm not sure. But something was coming at you.
Really? Oh, you're taking my picture?
Yeah,
You see, caught something? Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Now that's your phone. That's you moving the phone. I'm talking that there.
Yeah. Do you want to shuffle the papers on the desk? Or move a chair? What's your name?
I think it was a lot, something to note here that I go through. Yeah, we still have to check out the 4-H and the study.
Exactly, there's a study.
Thank you for letting us know here.
Yes, and we would like for, if you hear all of us, show us the study.
Like, I'm looking for the collar.
You want to talk to me through this spirit box? You getting something? Now you're not? What? Okay. Huh? Did you try some of the kids here to make it all go off? Hey Bob, where you at? Bob doesn't believe in ghosts. He's very skeptical.
I love it. You can try to convince me, though. Not a bad guy. Pretty nice guy. Mine was sick.
That'll be really easier.
Alright, it's time for our first revelation. So upstairs in the parlor, we'll head down all the lower levels. Those in the lower levels will be in the carriage house, and those in the carriage house will head upstairs to the parlor room.
Make sure you grab your key too. This is mine. Yours is in here.
That's good.
Don't go together? Give me your flashlight. Here, you may phone.
And the others, we were not going to do it anymore. And then the others started talking about music, and we just didn't even talk about the family, it was really cold. You know, so we just had that.
With the study, some of the workshops, they were going crazy, it wasn't an option, but I couldn't figure it out.
My Facebook, the other way we met. The big people. Like, they go with it, and we're coming up there.
Why don't we use the voice off the physical
Well, I only what I've heard that he just wants. If he is a soldier, like people are assuming, then they're not supposed to talk to others. If you want, you can raise the voice.
I got some reports, right?
This button, you hold it down, and it says you're talking to the.
Well, we can look at this room first, we've got some time. We gotta look around here first, and then those two rooms before we do it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that'd be a good thing to do.
yeah, let's do that. I'm not sure that's all. That's over. We can check out here first. So this is where the activities happen. Hello. We have to introduce ourselves.
I'll go first. My name is Amanda, and I've been really interested in the history of the Sorrel-Weed house for a long time, and I'm very excited to learn more about the people that were here.
My name is Savannah. I'm here to visit the house and to learn a little bit more about you. And to get to know you a little better.
I'm Erica, Sandra's daughter. We're traveling from very, very far away in a state called Illinois, Chicago. It's very cold there, so we're very excited about the weather here.
Hey, my name is Carol, and I'm in love with Amanda. And we live in Georgia, and we like the history of our state. We really like the history of your house. And I know you probably worked really hard here, and we would just like to find out if you could tell us anything. You have something to say. We would love to learn more about your home.
And of course, as you've heard, we have two mother-daughter couples, and I know that there were families that were down here and children that waited for their parents to get off work. So we understand those feelings, and we're excited to hear about your stories of families and things that you experienced at your own house.
So we want to put two of the machines down in different areas to see, like one maybe by the fireplace, near the fireplace. Okay.
And then like once we get into one of those rooms,
Okay. So we've got this room and that room here.
yeah, and then we have the hall over there.
Do you guys want to go into where the wheelchair is?
I'm really interested about the people
Who were doing the surgery?
I think we should go together to this one. Because this is the where they want to do what?
It wasn't
In the
like-
surgery room,
I
right?
did.
This is in the surgery room?
Yeah.
Let's go to the surgery room. Let's go over there. I do. Okay, you do that. Yeah. I couldn't read on that. That was long.
At the fireplace.
We were introducing ourselves in the other room. Good idea. She's on that one.
I heard there was a little girl in here.
She likes to play hide and seek.
I told other places that I'm becoming an education major, and I'm really looking forward to playing with kids. And one of my favorite games is hide and go seek.
I love that game.
And I know that there's a few favorite hiding spots of somebody down here, a little girl. I don't know your name, but if you could tell me, I would love to find out. But
How about we were to count?
yeah, if you guys would want to count to 10, 3 or 10, so stand up and let's come over here and
Yeah, and then we see if she wants to
yeah,
hide.
we can see. So let's go around to the space and look. Okay, right guys, so close your eyes and
Ready?
1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Are we close? Are we close? Or is it Bobby who's playing hide and seek? I know these are long days, Bobby. You want to just play with someone while your parents get off work.
Absolutely. So tired of waiting.
I don't know if there's anybody under this.
Maybe they don't want to get here because somebody's sitting in a wheelchair that is really sick.
Is there
Quiet.
anybody?
Is somebody sitting in a wheelchair?
Is there anybody over here in a wheelchair? If you would, if you're in the wheelchair, would you make it move? We'd like to see your wheelchair move.
I'm really interested in how the medicine works because I did think about going into the medical field until I realized I was bad science.
I feel for the soldiers that were down here because imagine how hard it was to be a doctor in a bathroom.
Yeah,
With
from
the
what we heard,
resources they have.
that's right, no resources. From what we've heard, the doctors would give their patients alcohol and then tell them to bite while when they had to cut off a part of their leg or something, and then they would use a saw to shut it off and take that leg off while they're awake.
I've had a few surgeries done on me, but they were really small.
And you weren't awake.
No, I was.
I mean, well, yeah, the one,
There's
that's
the
right.
toe one. I was awake.
That's right, you were awake.
And
But
I
you
know
had
that
no
it hurt for a long time, but
It hurts to recover from those surgeries.
I've broken a few bones, and I know that there were carriage accidents that people were in, which I'm very sorry.
What was that? Where's the machine? Do you have anything to tell us?
I think it's leaves for my side. But I think that was in another room. Is there somebody out there?
I don't think the leaves can do that.
That was definitely upstairs. Do you have a
I don't think
story?
the leaves can do this.
Is it shadow?
Would you like to share a
Yes.
Do you
story?
guys see the shadow?
Which one?
The one right here.
Right here, it's not like a shadow from this. It doesn't come from nowhere. Can you move the shadow again so they can see it too? Thank you for doing that.
Can you show us? Can you come in here and show us, or come by our machine so we can see you? If you're afraid, I promise we're just here to talk. Yes, we're not here to hurt you. We just want to learn more about you.
Do you want us to follow the shadow? Maybe we can follow you.
Or like a game? Like maybe there's want to play a game? We love to play games.
That shadow comes from where?
Let's follow the shadow.
We're gonna follow the shadow.
Can you go over here?
Okay.
Hey, Mom. Can you grab the to over there?
There's one here.
Can you grab it?
Okay, this way. Can you show us the shadow again? With a recorder somewhere?
It does. Right here. It is.
I don't feel any cold spots. I'm not in tune to you guys, I'm sorry. Make me a believer.
Yeah. Make me believe.
Maybe I'm not into it. I can't tell. When I put the flash on, they don't, when I do the burst, they don't flash. Is that what it is? Oh, here we go. Really? Is that? Anybody out there? Any flash?
Boy.
This.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? We're smoking?
Yeah, this is the men's room. Yeah, they get cigars.
I do not.
Maybe, wasn't there a small guy? That's in the basement.
The shadow man.
That's in the basement.
Everything's in the basement.
Yeah. Like the basement.
I could spend my whole time down there.
These look like my grandma's train.
Oh, we have a decanter that's kind of like that color.
Yeah. We have,
The decanter's really pretty. It looks like a flame on the top, but it's so tall, it doesn't fit anywhere. Did they have coffee back then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could throw cocoa beans.
Yeah.
Especially on the summer.
Cocoa beans for coffee?
I mean, you know, coffee beans. Cocoa beans for mocha. I still don't have any.
You have a beautiful home, Matilda.
Yes.
Can you imagine that for your wedding gift? Beautiful.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And that's her son, right?
Yes. The one that they're very.
He's very handsome.
He is very handsome.
He can surely tap me on the shoulder.
They don't think he's here. Darn it.
They don't have questions.
They don't have like Joshua. He does kind of look like Joshua. Younger. He's a big
These
actor.
doorways are massive. Look at this.
I love that one. The sliders.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
I just don't know the doors.
Yeah, because the ones, well, yeah, and the ladies.
Oh.
Oh. I just feel like they could totally hear what they were talking about, but maybe not. I mean, I wonder how many people came to these parties.
This is men's, right?
Yeah.
She said ladies, maybe?
Like, how many people you guys think, like 50?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Good old guys, pennies. Everything's cracking. I just sat on the floor.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. Oh, my back. Who did the work?
I'm asking for a friend.
Would you like to move some of that over?
Look at the fake bug.
It's not real. It's like a
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
clowns.
Maybe if there's an energy in the room, they could make the clowns
move.
Yes, make them move.
Make them running out of here.
I might look at that happen.
I would stay in the phone.
Are you gonna do the voice?
I'm gonna try my phone.
I'm gonna try asking questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a picture of this. So what are we gonna ask? How many people were at the parties in the party? 50? 100? That's just like last question. Oh, were 50 people in the party or 30? Did you like entertaining, being a hostess, you said, right? Did you enjoy being a hostess for your guests? Here we go.
So how do they play this back?
The bottom button, second from the left. Just to play there. There we go. So see if you hear anything.
Hi.
Is anybody home?
Afraid the people were that had to come down here to get help. Because if I thought about it, I probably nowadays wouldn't come down here. So I have very large respect to everyone.
And their family members.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people work down here with who was the doctor again?
Frank.
Frank.
Dr. Frank.
I don't know if Dr. Frank's down here. I heard that he might have moved.
They say he was a very good surgeon, very good doctor.
Yeah, especially for his time. I wish I could be a doctor and help people. Did you like, if Dr. Frank is here, did you like to help people? Is that why you did it?
Something you want to say?
If there's any children down here, I'd really like to talk to you. I want to see if you can help me. Can you help me? Well, I don't know if there's any children over here right now, but I really want to know, like, what do you like to do to have fun? Because I want to know how to have fun.
It was very impressed when she said that they know everything, they know how to communicate with you, and then they know the names of everything we're using. So I got the feeling that they're not afraid of us.
No, I don't think that by now I hope they don't get upset, but that they appreciate that we want to know more about them and that they understand that we respect them very much.
Yeah, we're not here to do anything but learn. We don't want to hurt them. We don't want to learn stuff. How they live. And their favorite things.
Yeah. What were some good moments?
Is there anyone in this room?
Yeah, I think it's time to give it a minute. Okay. Do you have this? Leave it on. Just stick it with us on. Okay. Do you have a story to tell us here?
Well, if there's anything you want to say, you can go ahead and say it.
You can say it. You can follow us. You want to tell us?
Tell us things because we want to know more. What was that?
No.
What? You don't want to tell stories?
So, is there somebody in that chair?
If you're in the chair, can you make it move? Or make the lights go on the wheelchair?
You made a noise just now. Can you make it again? Can you tap the chair? Tap the chair twice or once. If you're here, can you turn the lights from green to blue? Did you just knock?
I think that was upstairs. I think that was upstairs. Yes, upstairs.
Are you okay?
I'm gonna make a noise to the floor. Can you have the same noise?
What if we shift some papers? Can you shift some papers that are on this desk? Or even shift the chair a little bit if you can?
Would you let us know if you're here? We would really just like to know if you're here with us.
You're here? Who are you? Maybe we should explore the kitchen.
Do you want us to leave this room and go to the next room?
Okay, we're gonna go into the next room.
Is this where we're ever going, right?
Yes.
And we're very creepy. A lot of light here.
Where they say they see bodies. Abby, is this the room where you like?
I know what that right. Imagine they wrote a lot of letters. I'm not sure if they wrote them in here though, or
They did, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. There's letters on the desk, did you see? Right here. I mean, I'm sure they're not really their letters, but just to give you an idea. Affectionately yours. My dear Matilda, it is with a heavy heart that I take my leave from Savannah. It has been an honor to show your magnificent home to others, even more so to share your story. I can touch the story. I pray I have done it. I pray I have done it and you justice. I leave your house in the capable hands. We will restore it to its
Nobody wants to play the piano for me. Okay. Alright, so someone. I have both of these.
Oh yeah, what's the other one? You have both of what? The ABTs. Oh, that's what we got.
I read a quarter.
I don't have.
We have two flashlights.
I have a flashlight and the walkie-talkie in my back pocket.
Recording us that.
I'm staying by the door.
Okay, got it.
I can tell what you guys. You're like pros. Are you going upstairs? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going upstairs.
Alright, I'm still staying by the door then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to taste some good cooking from here. I'm sure the food was amazing. Yes, I can. What's that, like speaking in tongues?
What was this from? You guys remember?
The linen room.
The linen.
That's where most of the cleaning was done. So the laundry, probably the silver,
Oh, yeah.
anything of the house. Look at that. This is. Oh, do you want my lights?
Sorry.
Is it? You guys see that radar thing? Yeah, we're from the north. We're from the Union, right? That's true. We now have this asshole's president, his name is Trump. Nicole, come here, hurry up. It's going off, it's still going off, you guys. Nicole, come here. What is it? Dude, what's fucking going on?
The thing's going off.
The thing's going off. He doesn't like Trump. Where's the hole? We'll play. Let's play. Ready? Count to 10. I'll close my eyes. You're right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here I come.
Oh, the fireplace by the other room? That thing's going up to the table there. Oh my God. What? No, behind you on the table?
Oh my God.
Is that going up? Or is that the reflection?
It's a reflection.
No, I'm holding it. Where is that?
Hold it out. Are you under the couch?
Oh my God.
Oh, that was. You can come sit next to me. Here, I have an idea. Here. You guys, it's like it's been like non-stop.
I'm sorry, I'm there.
Can you roll my flashlight towards me?
I like, what do you guys like to drink? I'm a beer fan.
Are you with her?
Me personally. But that's just me. That's a really cool mirror. you here? I would love to come to one of your parties. I think it would have been so much fun.
Molly, are you in here? Does that mean Karen want to play hide and seek with me?
I'm on vacation right now. And my kids are at home, so I miss my kids. I'd like to play with some kids. Can you make the box on the couch go off?
Did you take pictures of mirrors?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I took a couple.
This mirror in particular, I got stuck in last time I was here.
Did you?
Yeah. And the light fell on and everything, so.
I'm thinking I'm getting a lot of dust. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of things flying by. Not tell. My throat is a little scratchy. That's why I was thinking.
Yeah. You wanna switch rooms and see what happens, if anything happens?
Yeah.
Alright. I got my KT on the board here. If you wanna.
You want my case here?
Oh, yeah, right here. No, it's up here in there.
So this is the women's room. It's where the women hang out. Dennis, what did you do? Your phone? Really like it.
Yeah, get a steer on something. Like anything else.
I don't think that, she'll come yell at us. So here's some more like medical letters.
Oh my God, are these supposed to be needles?
Yeah, this was the operating room. Investors rehabs. Oh, that's for babies. Isn't that how they come out of their head? Oh, forceps. Right here, yeah. I wonder if they'd make them give birth down here, or if they just did like surgeries. I don't know. Let's see. Anesthesia. Chloroform. Infection. Although fortunate to be conscious of surgery, soldiers who are unlike life watching a sleeping a few days for their infection and overwhelming almost became effective beyond much hand of the surgeon. Non-sterile surgical instruments used on dirty sponges. Reconstructive surgery of the face involves suturing together the soft tissues of the eyelids, nose, and mouth. Surgeons frequently treated arm and leg wounds by amputating. There was an eye on the other side of his face. And it blinked. It goes back all the way. No. Okay. Ready? What's that picture? What is it? His bone? Shoulder wounds. Not very good. Head wounds. Are not always fatal. Yeah. Involve drilling a circular hole into the skull to relieve pressure. Because the brain is swollen. Yeah, they have to. It's a lot more sophisticated than this stuff. That wasn't even clean. Right. That's a good song for the kids. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. They always sing like nursery rhyme songs that are really creepy. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. I'm just kidding. No, not that. Knick knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. The soul man came rolling. Hide and go seek. 1, 2. So how did he die? 4. I don't know if she did. Got the fever on. No shadow man. I'm fine now. You feel like maybe talk to Lord and feel different. I feel different too. I feel fine. Then again, she was also telling us that in the other direction where I was. I got the fever. This is out,
It's square.
right, so this would have been out front as well.
Right.
So those are the front steps right there. Right. Oh my God, Snoop. I keep picking my nose, forgetting that I have an ear in there. Because it is just. Huh? Yeah. I did hope I saw some ghost kitties. Carriage. Well, of course. Right, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sure they had dogs.
You think?
Yeah. I do believe they had dogs. I've never heard of a cat. Shadow man. Is that a tree?
And the basement wasn't, it was some of it wasn't that much. It actually was just one room in the basement. Not the doctor, not where the doctor, but right next to it. Anybody here?
Because of the cold.
Why am I thinking of those? Who's the little girl?
I don't think she told us the name, did she?
No. She said there's a little girl that likes to untie your shoes and or play hide and go seek. What was her name? I don't remember.
sharp pains in my back, like needles are poking me. Yeah. Thank you. Make sure I have everything to be screwed. So I have 1 K2 from this group of 4. Let me make sure I have everything from them. That's what I know. Thank you very much.
And this is the one where when I was under the flashlight, kind of just fell out, and so I think I know that's.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, that's everything for y'all. Alright, so this group of 4 now, sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. Hopefully some good things. Thank you. Right, so not least. Thank you. Again. And that's it. Thank you very much. Alright. I love when I have all the equipment back. Alright, so let's close that door actually, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you very much. Okay, so the way this debrief is going to go is we're going to go group by group. And you can tell me the highlights, you can walk me through room by room, however you want to do it. So let's start with this group of 4. What stood out to you? What was going on? Nothing at all?
Well, the thing went off. It was a battery. We thought it was battery.
Yeah, the REM pod started to go off, and we weren't sure if it was a battery, and she listened in, and it was making that siren noise, which usually indicates that it was a battery.
That scared us. Yeah. I bet.
That's too bad. But nothing else, no feelings or anything, even after you felt heavy in the lower level, that feeling didn't return to you?
No.
Interesting. Okay. I have a lot of people tell me that they feel differently when they're on the tour with me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Now, I don't know if that just has to do with the fact that I'm here all the time and the spirits know me.
With you.
Yeah,
right.
It could be that, but I've had people say that before, that they have all these feelings and things are happening on the tour, and then they get in there by themselves and it feels like nothing's going on anymore.
Yeah.
Man.
We tried. We sat on the floor and we did the.
It was cool though.
Yeah. Good.
I loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the ghosts aren't on the payroll. You know, we can't guarantee that you'll have an experience. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
But I'm glad you had a good time.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. All right, so this group of 4, what stood out to you? What was happening?
I feel like temperature change.
Yeah.
My legs going into certain rooms in the basement.
Which
In the
rooms?
beginning when I went with you,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the bags in my legs, before you mentioned that, I was feeling it, and I also feel like somebody was playing with my purse.
Yeah.
The
left,
yes,
and the
before
tassels.
we did the investigation, it was before. And then when we went,
Did you feel the temperature, where did you feel the temperature change?
so I feel the temperature change in the doctor, in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel it in the music room when we
Okay.
went to the ladies' room.
State for us.
And then when we changed to the piano, it was like all in one side and warm in the other one.
Interesting.
So it was like a lot of difference.
And
And
talking
also,
about music,
It got really cold.
it was
That's cool.
and it was also something that I'm not sure if that was something, but it was a shadow that every time we were trying to leave the room, the shadow was moving. And
Where
then
was
we
that?
were
In the medical.
in the medical room.
asking if we move.
If you're facing, if the wheelchair's to your left and you're facing that door out,
Uh-huh.
there was a shadow there, and it would start shaking when we tried to move.
When we tried to move. And then when we asked, like if that was okay for us to move or to leave, they start making a noise by the wheelchair. So it was like a noise that it happened like twice, right?
Yeah, it's as if they were waving from the wheelchair, but that's what caught me off
So you
guard.
could see their shadow reflected on the wall. Is that what you mean?
Or
Like
it was on the
was
floor
on
actually.
the floor. It was
But
on
that's
the floor.
what confused me because I was sitting on the couch at the time, and I was looking at their shadows relative to that, and most of their shadow was the darkness of the shadow we saw over there was how it looked behind them, but was in front of them.
It was like somebody was like this. Like they were like playing, like this,
Yeah.
Like a
and
child.
making a shadow on the floor, not standing.
And then with
And
that,
then like they were playing, like making
And it
a
would stay
shadow.
still, and
Yeah.
then we would say, "Can you do that again?" And then it
And
would
then
shift.
they would-
yeah. And that's also after
That's
I
cool.
sat on the couch because I'm studying to be an education major. So whenever I knew
Nice.
that there was a kid nearby, I'd mention and be like, "Oh, can you help me learn how to play? Can you show me what to do?" And so
Aw.
I tried the hide and go seek thing. And so I sat down, and for a while I didn't feel anything until they started talking about the shadow, and then my feet got extremely cold. Not even, I couldn't feel anything from the ankles up. It was just cold on there. And then my toes started slowly being this warm tingling feeling. And I mean, I wasn't pressing down hard on them to where blood circulation would go off. It was.
So I want to talk to that point a little bit. So I didn't mention this on the investigation, but on my tours I always tell everyone because it happens consistently. People walk in to the surgery room from the linen room and they tell me all the time that they feel an abrupt temperature change, that they feel freezing cold in the surgery room. And a lot of the time they're telling me that they're so cold that they can't feel their feet anymore, or their right leg, or their hands. And I attribute that not with the temperature, but with the surgeries taking place, the majority of which were amputation,
That's
as I
right.
told y'all. So it could have had to do, I think the shadow was different. I think the shadow sounds like it might have been the little girl who was trying to play with you, but the coldness was different. I think that comes from the surgery. I can't guarantee that that's what it's from, but that's what I've attributed it to in the past, and I hear it all the time.
And then while we were on the tour with you, and we had gone on a ghost tour earlier this weekend.
Of this house?
Not inside of it, but
The outside.
walking toward
The
the
outside. Yes.
But while we were walking towards the medical room, the moment we walked in, I just felt a sharp pain in my back right here, and it wasn't sudden. It was slowly, and then I could feel it. Felt like a needle was
this,
getting
and I was
better.
like,
I was my back, and
Yeah.
then the moment I started talking about it, it went away.
So people feel that too in the surgery all the time. People feel what feels like a stabbing sort of a pain, or they have an incision or something. It happens in the abdomen a lot, but I do hear the stabbing in the back quite often as well. That's really interesting.
Wasn't that the room where when the shadow was going on, you would say, well, we're going to go to another room. Can we go to another room? And then you thought you were to say no? Was it
Yeah. Oh, on the voice box, there was a lot of things with that. I would hear no a lot, and then when we were upstairs in the study room, it sounded like we both heard it say "go away."
Go away.
Really?
Yeah. So
In the study room.
I don't know if it was if it could be attributed to that. We were all women, and it's still from that time period. But
Maybe he was having a business meeting and y'all were not supposed to be in
my
there.
bad.
We were asking, are people allowed in here? Is this only where
Then
Francis
we always
is
hear
allowed?
Like,
Yes,
you
we should
could
go
go
away.
away. We didn't get that too much from the
Yeah.
but up there were a lot of radio interferences, but I could distinctly hear a man's voice when I was talking to Mr. Sam, to where I heard, I don't know what he did, but from what it sounded like, he either worked in the stable or he worked in the garden.
Okay.
For some reason, I heard in the garden. And I don't know if that was him saying it or if it was somebody else saying it about
Yeah, maybe it wasn't Sam, maybe it was another spirit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then he was saying that he had a wife, right?
Yeah, I was like, did you have family? And then I just heard Ife, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to think it's wife. But
Yeah, it's a fair assumption.
yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, you guys got a lot. You seem to be a little bit sensitive. Have you ever had any experiences before?
A lot.
Okay, yeah, so you knew that coming into it. Okay, sometimes people don't know that they're sensitive until they come onto the property.
Oh, yeah.
But interesting, yeah, you were picking up on a lot.
We've had family
It's very
visits
cool.
too.
We've had family. I've seen
Yeah.
going down the halls, and right now my apartment is haunted, but
Mhm.
they don't cause harm. They're just trying to
Mischievous.
It's sort of like exist and let exist
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Move stuff and things like that.
Yeah, they're letting you know that they're there.
talk to my roommates a few times, but that's about it.
Interesting. Cool. Okay. It's cool that you're picking up on stuff that we talk about during the tours all the time too, that people report consistently, but I didn't tell you
That's
about
wild.
before. That's really neat.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is. That's really cool. Yeah, the temperature changes is something we hear about a lot. Neat. Wow. Cool. Okay. The group of two. What's it out to y'all? What do you have to report? Anything?
Most stuff was in the basement.
Yeah.
Most
I
of
kept trying to play with the little girl, ask her, because we were the first ones in the basement.
Right.
And the creepiest room for me was the surgery room.
Yeah.
And the next one was the room that you said the little Bobby was in. Yeah. So I kept walking back and forth in between the two. But I would sit on the couch and try to talk to the little girl. I sat down in the middle of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have, at first when we first walked into the surgery room, I felt something like rub on the back of my leg, like down here. It was weird, and I was just like, something just touched me. And he looked at me like I was nuts. Okay, so jumpy, probably. I tried to use the spirit box, didn't really get much down there.
Yeah.
But he took some pictures, and
I have
one of them.
up here.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's and I saw it. I was looking at the screen, so I saw it, and I was using the live
Yeah.
photo.
Good.
And I saw it instantly as soon as it snapped. Something flashed in front of my face, in front of the camera, and I immediately snapped off 4 more. Holding perfectly still. They look identical, except that the one has a flash coming up in front of it.
Neat.
In the basement, while I was on the floor trying to play with the little girl, there's something like something in a light or something weird in the, like right by me. He was like, "Come look at this." He was like, "There's something by me."
That's cool.
And I got freaked out.
Oh yeah.
I said I did a bunch more. 4 more identical. Like I said, I saw it instantly. I just snapped off.
That's wild.
So a lot of the time, so that's what's called an orb. Is everyone familiar with what an orb is? Okay. A lot of the time when people think that they have an orb in a photo, it's dust. Or it's a droplet. It's some sort of reflective particle. That's moving very quickly. Because of the,
straight up.
Yes, because of the speed and the direction. It seems to me like it could be an orb, thus signifying a spirit. A lot of the time dust will just float around aimlessly, right? But an orb will move with purpose, and that one seems like it is. So that's really neat.
Well, then upstairs, I was trying to talk to Sarah on the spirit box, and the one thing I think I heard was a guy's voice. But before I went to try to talk to Molly, and I don't know if he said Bobby or Molly, but it sounded like a male that said something Molly, and I was like, "Do you hear that? Like that's crazy." Yeah.
Were you recording that?
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all in this memory.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so go back and check that out. Listen
Yeah.
to it. See if you can isolate the sound and really be able to hear it clearer. And that would be really cool to find out what they actually say.
Yeah.
That's cool. Anything else from you guys?
No.
That's
I said a
plenty.
few things here and there, but
Mostly it was a basement.
Yeah.
I just felt like somebody was sitting on my chest the whole time I was in that
That's how I felt when we were
surgery room. Like,
Can you talk
like
about that?
I walked in and the air was really hard to breathe.
In the surgery room?
Very hard.
I think sometimes that room is very full of different types of spirits from different eras when the room was used for different purposes. And I think that sometimes it does feel like you're walking into this room where you're just like, there's so many people
It looks like I
in
wanted
here,
to
and
like
it's hard to.
hurry up and get out.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't breathe.
But the heaviness on the chest is something that people report all the time. A lot of people report that in Molly's room as well. I think that comes from having a palpable energy too, is that you just feel this weight on your chest, like you were describing as a heaviness as well. It's a really good way to describe it. Yeah.
I did forget to mention that while we were in the basement, and like this just completely left my mind. But when we were all sitting, when I was sitting on the couch and everybody else was standing around, there was that loud noise that came from the other side. Do you
Oh,
remember
it
that?
came kind of by the stairwell.
Yeah. Like
When
after
you were on
everybody-
your rotation?
It wasn't.
No,
when
it
we
was
were in
after
the
the
tour.
rotation. It was on the
We told you it was somebody from upstairs.
Upstairs,
Yeah,
but
you
it
know.
wasn't.
but it like came from the bottom and we could hear it like from behind us.
Is that what you heard?
I don't remember.
And then I
Was it in the
sitting
surgery?
somewhere and there was a light.
I was on. I forget which group it was. Who was like in which rotation at the time? I heard a sound coming through the cameras, and I was in the lower level listening in, and I heard a big bang, but everyone upstairs was sitting on the floor.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
heard like a
Yeah.
slide and then a clash, like a bang.
It was, and that was when we started hearing the sounds with the wheelchair.
Yeah, the wheelchair came right after.
What rotation was that?
Second rotation.
The second rotation. We were all the second rotation.
We were sitting down.
We were sitting
Yeah.
downstairs in
Yeah.
the brother room. So that must be the same noise that you heard.
Also,
Cool. I was gonna bring that up anyway. I'm glad you brought it up. So it sounded like it was coming from where?
Like, so if I was on the couch in the hospital
was the-
room, and like the wheelchair was over there, like we heard it from back here.
And the shadow would be weird, because it sounded loud to me.
It was very like.
It was very loud.
It was very
And so it
loud.
was them making the noise.
And like.
And then
Yeah, they were
they were
sitting
sitting
down.
down.
Did you hear anything?
we
No, you
asked
didn't hear anything.
we asked at the beginning to see if there was something that they wanted to tell us
Good.
that the noise was them.
Yeah.
And that's when they started making the noises in the wheelchair.
And,
After
like,
that noise, that we thought the noise came from you guys.
Yeah, we thought it was
And
people upstairs.
after that sound happened, I heard them come from actually the other direction. I heard them stand up. So like I was like, well, that didn't come from back there or over there. They were there.
They were probably, I think they were on top of the
They were
where they were in the women's parlor.
Yeah, they were in the women's. Yeah, exactly.
It was really, really strong noise.
Yeah.
It was because I remember sitting there and I heard it and like I just felt cold and I whispered, "Did you hear that?"
Yeah, she said it sounded like a loud thump. It was like a really
That's what it
loud.
was like, it was a loud thump.
And then somebody was,
I think
that
that
was you guys.
We
So
said
that's why
that
we
was
thought
y'all.
it was you guys doing the noise.
They were doing shaving and
Because it
haircut.
came
That's the end of it,
just before you guys did that, the noise was like really.
Interesting.
And then
I don't know exactly what that was, but
when I walked into Molly's room up there, I was talking and I was like, I paused before like saying anything because I was like just now speaking to her, so I was like, oh, I'm moving too fast. But I was like, I know that sometimes like you get upset and I struggle with that, and then I stopped, and then like I just felt a pressure, and then like the curtains started moving really fast, like they were like wisping around, but they just went,
yeah,
like,
there's a
back.
broken window pane,
Okay.
so that's wind.
Okay.
saw that too.
We wondered what that was about.
Yeah,
It was
sorry,
really-
I forgot to
it was really
mention
light
that.
for
It was like
I should mention that, and I didn't.
okay.
Yeah, there's a broken window pane, so that's the wind. But still,
I
I mean, you still
still
felt,
felt pressure.
yeah, you felt something.
And was, when we were down at the kitchen area, I walked over to where the spinning wheel, we were talking, you said you thought that, you saw that move. And it brought it
really?
kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was, my back was toward the other room. So I turned and I saw that the
Spinning wheel
thing
thing.
was moving. So I told them, I said, I saw that moving. So when we went back, we were like standing close and I said, I saw them move it in. So, but I didn't see it and I didn't ask anything. It just moved.
Yeah.
We were in the other side.
But that's when she had the odor of tobacco.
It was strong right over there, and I was like, so then like smoking a pipe, right? I mean, it was so strong, like a fresh pipe. It was weird.
Yeah. Interesting. And nobody else smelled it.
Nobody else
That's
smelled
what makes it
But
paranormal.
now I smell something.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm hallucinating.
There is like a freshener
That's what you
somewhere over there.
No, it smells like tobacco. It smells like a can of dip.
Interesting. That would make sense too. Wow, cool. There was something else that you heard from someone's spirit box. Do you remember?
Oh, it was you guys when you were in the lower level. I couldn't tell if like one of you were actually speaking or if it was coming from your spirit box, but I thought I heard something say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, I thought I heard something, but I wasn't. It was my first time using one of those, so I just got mine.
Mhm.
I ordered all the stuff to come here,
Oh,
so I could
that's
use
so
it
fun.
in case anybody didn't have it.
That's awesome.
So I was like, yeah. So I wasn't. When you gave me yours, I was like, well, I put the speaker in to make
Yeah.
it louder, so I could try to hear it more. But I don't know. He's very skeptical,
That's
so
fine.
he tries to scientifically explain everything
That's
away.
great.
He's like, well, no. The radio stations are flipping, so blah 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 blah, and you're getting one word answers. So
Yeah, you wouldn't hear a full phrase like,
Yeah.
"Are you okay?"
I
Yeah.
heard a couple
Yeah.
of things that I thought I did, but it wasn't loud enough. Like I didn't have it up all the way. I kept turning it down some, and I was trying to do too much at once. Really. Because like I got 25 minutes. This basement's really creepy. I'm trying to take so many pictures.
Yeah.
I got that
Yeah,
other.
the basement was
I'm
like,
recording on my
chair,
on
you're
here
gonna
and
turn
everything. So I'm like,
the basement is when I feel like I thought I was gonna feel paranoid and afraid, but I was actually peaceful.
Good.
And
I'm glad.
like,
It feels
I got
funny,
the
like it feels like
feeling-
there are presences, but it's
Yeah.
not anything to be afraid of.
But then in the basement
Good.
was the only place where I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the medical room, not everywhere is busy. Just in the medical room, I feel like
Yeah.
See, like,
I didn't want to be there. Like,
well, I wouldn't say sad. I would
Yeah.
feel like
I wanted the time to end it.
empathetic.
Right.
I feel like I feel
Right.
bad for these people
That's
down
what
here.
Yeah,
Something's
people
wrong with
say that a
them.
lot.
Yeah,
Like,
people
feel
do
that.
it was like something's wrong, and Jen would be like, something's wrong with them. I want to help them.
It's an empathic feeling.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah, you're
empathic.
feeling someone
Because I was
else's
like,
feeling.
I know somebody's
Yes.
sad
She's
or
a
crying
high
down
impact.
here, and
Right.
I was like, I want to help them, but where are they?
Right. Yeah. Wow. How interesting. But yeah, she might have heard something that maybe you missed. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, if you've been recording it, I'll figure out if it was you or if it was the spirit box. Because that would be cool. Are you okay? It's really interesting for them to ask you questions. Maybe. Yeah. Wow. This was a lot. I don't know for you guys. I'm sorry, but this was a lot. This is a really active night. I'm glad, and it usually is when it's storming outside. When you have weather like this, it tends to stir up the energy of the house. We were hoping for a good investigation, and we got one. Did everybody else have a good time? Yes. Good. I'm so glad. Hopefully you've been bitten by the bug and you'll be investigating all the time from now on. I hope so, and I hope you'll come back here and investigate with us too. We love having people come back, especially because you know what you're doing now. So now when you get in there for the 25 minutes, you're not like, where do we begin? You know what you're doing. It's a lot of fun to have people come back. So we hope you do. Oh yeah, we do. We have a lock-in next weekend. It's next Saturday. The lock-in is really similar. It just goes until 4 in the morning. So you do the initial rotations throughout the property, and then you have kind of free reign throughout the house. You take the equipment that you like, and you go back into the room where you connected with someone, you try again, or you go back where you didn't get anything and you try again. It's really cool, and we also have some more equipment that we bring out. We bring a FLIR, which is thermal imaging. We have mellometers, which is like the K-tube, but just it has a digital reader on it. The lock-ins are really fun. So we have some availability on that for next weekend. No pressure, but just so you know, we do those about once a month. So yeah, we would love to have you back for those. It's really a neat event. And we sometimes have volunteers who come, people who work on the staff who can come and help you investigate and ask questions to them, and it's a really neat time. So I have business cards for you. If you would like to take one, no pressure. I'll just put it right here. This business card has our email address on it. If you want to email us any of the footage that you captured tonight, any of the audio recordings that you want to send us, if you want to get a clip of it and email it to us, we would be happy to see or hear any of that. If you want a second opinion on any of the footage that you captured, just make sure to ask us for it in the body of the message, and we will get back to you and we'll let you know what we think. All we can provide is our opinion, of course, but we'll do our best to debunk it or let you know our opinion. Our website is on there. You can check out archival footage on there. The YouTube link is on there. Our Facebook is on there, Instagram, all that. We're always uploading EVPs, live photos, REM pod activity, all kinds of stuff captured by guests and staff on the property. So you can always follow us and weigh in and tell us if you think it's paranormal or not, which is fun. Lastly, our TripAdvisor is also listed on this business card, and reviews help a lot with this business. The majority of our ticket sales goes to the restoration of this property, and this is a huge historic home preservation project, so we greatly appreciate your contribution when you purchase your ticket to come investigate with us tonight, and we do hope to have you back again. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys had a good time. We always have a good time. We love being here, so thank you for letting us do what we love to do. I will go ahead and unlock the gate to the sidewalk so you're not trapped here forever, but thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your time in Savannah. I do hope to see you again. Thank you.
What time does the gift shop open so we could buy a shirt or something tomorrow? Oh, you can buy a shirt now. I can? Yeah, thank you. Yes, please.
Great.
Well, maybe it does feel like 3 hours away. If we get on the Facebook and we keep up with it, figure out when they're doing it, I can just swing by and get you at Mercer.
I'm only 2 hours away.
Exactly.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at
I don't
all.
work down here on the weekends.
Actually,
Sorry about the
sure. Okay.
yeah, I got it. You want one?
What made you change your mind?
Heat. Huh? Heat.
Yeah, it's supposed to be warm, isn't it?
Living in Boca.
Yeah, it's supposed to be warm.
What's the size on it?
This is a large.
I'll just get one of those. I'll look for short sleepers. That's kind of cool. I like that one.
What size is it?
Trying to find that out. Can you tell me what that says?
I can go get my glasses, but.
Like that.
Perfect, I grabbed the right one. You got cards, right?
You said it was a extra large?
Yeah, it's
No.
yours.
Oh, cool, you're getting a t-shirt or something?
Oh, yes, I was like, are
I
you
love
kidding?
it.
Yeah, I've been like updating on Snapchat up until this time. I was like, hey, I'm about to go do this. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm about to go do it. And so everybody's like, oh, you gotta tell me how that goes. Like, I've heard that before and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh no, you don't understand. I'm going at 11:30 until 2 a.m.
It's a little different.
She was a little freaked, I was excited.
And I was excited, but I was a little afraid.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, so they were all like, oh, well, you should tell me how it goes. Like, take videos and stuff. And I was like,
Well, like, yeah, I think they should just watch the live stream, too.
oh yeah, I
Did you
just
like
shared
a
it on
bag or
Facebook. I was like, please.
Good.
Yeah, great. Use.
Because me and my roommate are obsessed with BuzzFeed Unsolved. And
Yeah.
it's the first place they came
Obsessed.
to watch.
Yeah, they came here pretty recently. They were really nice. It was a lot of fun to have them.
I love them. They're so cute.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Precious guys.
Yeah, we have a lot of younger people now coming to the house because they love BuzzFeed Unsolved, and it's really fun to have them.
Easy for us to get back in, which I wouldn't mind doing more walk-in, so.
That would be awesome. Are you guys far?
No.
She's 3 hours away. I'm 2 hours away.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
not that
easy.
far. It's easy for us to get here.
I was
So
just
just
to grab a
for
job
donations
here,
for the,
drive 2 hours.
just random for the, awesome.
Oh, cool.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Umbrella.
Yeah, you should come on.
I really want to. I'm gonna see if I can. Usually it's hard to have mediums on the property too. Yeah.